Ukraine cannot exist as a country because the people who live in Western Ukraine and the people who live in Eastern Ukraine are completely different people. They have nothing in common. You see, the territories of Western Ukraine today, for most of history, were parts of Poland, were parts of Hungary, they were parts of Romania. They were parts of countries which fought many wars with Russia throughout history. They've historically been hostile to Russia. So the areas of Western Ukraine, they're filled with Polish people, with Hungarians, with Romanians, with people, most of whom do not like Russia. Meanwhile, the areas of Eastern Ukraine, like Donetsk, right, Luhansk, Crimea, Mariupol, Odessa, all these places have always been Russian-speaking. They've always been pro-Russian. They've been aligned with Russia, right? So today, when you have modern-day Ukraine, we have a country, half of the population of which has a totally different ideology than the other half, right? Think of the states. You have the Republicans and you have the Democrats, but both, are aligned because they're parts of the USA. The differences between them are pretty minor. But when you look at Eastern Ukraine versus Western Ukraine, we're looking not at just some minor political differences like the Republicans versus the Democrats in the States. We're looking at people who have fought wars with each other for hundreds of years. We're talking the Poles, the Romanians, the Hungarians versus the Russians who live in the eastern parts of Ukraine, right? Who have always been a part of Russia. Millions of Russians have died defending those areas, right? So the real problem with the situation in Ukraine today is that the Ukrainian populace, the whole idea of a Ukrainian nation, is failed at its core. Do you understand? It is broken down at its core because there is no nation. The two people, they're too different. They don't want to exist in the same world. They have different worldviews, right? So we need to stop this fake narrative that Russia, invaded Ukraine and nobody in Ukraine, supports Russia. Just Ukraine is a poor victim, right? Everybody hates Russia in Ukraine. That's not true. That is not true. I would argue that most Ukrainians, real Ukrainians, ethnic Ukrainians, not Poles, not Romanians, not Hungarians, real Ukrainians stand with Russia because their grandfathers fought with Russia against the Nazis, with Russia against Napoleon.